What if I told you a tiny $7,000 electric car just disrupted the entire EV industry? While Tesla and BYD battled for luxury dominance, a nearly unknown Japanese company, Kilogram Motors, dropped a bombshell that no one saw coming. The Maybot, a one-seater, fully electric vehicle that costs less than a used scooter in California, is now the hottest topic from Tokyo to Silicon Valley. It's not just cheap, it's smart, sleek, and shockingly effective. With its minimal size, urban design, and price tag that sounds too good to be true, Maybot has already sold over half its initial run before a single unit rolled off the line. In fact, it's on pace to outsell Toyota's entire EV lineup in Japan. Yes, Toyota. And this isn't a joke. This isn't vaporware or another crowd-funded concept car that never delivers. This is real, tested, and ready. So, what's the deal with Maybot? Why is it so cheap? Is it a gimmick? Or is it a revolution in disguise? In this video, we're diving deep into how a no-name company outmaneuvered the biggest players in tech and auto manufacturing. From back-alley workshops to front-page headlines, Kilogram Motors' story is something you need to hear. And by the end, you'll see why this $7,000 car might just be the biggest threat to Tesla yet. Let's start at the very beginning. Because this wasn't luck. This was a plan 20 years in the making. 2 decades ago, in a sleepy Japanese town, two friends had a dream to build cars so affordable, so compact, and so functional that anyone could own one. And they weren't aiming to be the next Toyota. They wanted something different, something smaller, smarter, and greener. That dream became Kilogram Motors. Started in a humble garage, Kilogram Motors began by repairing scooters and old two-wheelers. But they had bigger ambitions. They named the company Kilogram for keen and green, a nod to their forward-thinking mindset and commitment to sustainability. In a market obsessed with horsepower and sleek tech, Kilogram Motors quietly obsessed over something different: utility, accessibility, and cost. Years passed, and while EV giants focused on luxury markets, Kilogram doubled down on simplicity. They worked with local mechanics and engineers, designing practical prototypes no bigger than a vending machine. It wasn't flashy. It wasn't fast, but it worked. They focused on solving Japan's real problems. Crowded cities, shrinking rural towns, and a population in need of small, reliable transportation. Maybot wasn't born overnight. It was the result of years of tinkering, failures, and stubborn vision. They weren't trying to be famous. They were trying to help people move. And when they finally figured it out, the auto industry wasn't ready. Maybot isn't just a product. It's the symbol of a philosophy. That mobility should be a right, not a luxury. And now that vision is finally turning into a movement. At first glance, the Maybot looks like a toy. But look closer and it becomes clear this isn't some plastic gimmick. It's engineered for real people in real cities. Just 2.5 m long and around 1.2 m wide, Maybot is shorter than most golf carts and can fit in almost any urban parking spot. Weighing in at around 600 pounds, it's ultra-light but sturdy enough to handle daily commutes. Designed for one person, the Maybot features a smart, minimal interior with a digital display, basic steering controls, and enough room to comfortably cruise the streets of Tokyo, Osaka, or any congested city. The compact build makes it perfect for maneuvering through tight corners, alleyways, or dense traffic. Under the hood, a proprietary 7.7 kWh lithium iron phosphate battery. It offers a range of 100 to 120 kilometers, around 60 to 75 miles on a single charge. Perfect for daily errands, commutes, or even a countryside run. Top speed 60 km per hour. That's not winning drag races, but it's more than enough for Japan's urban zones. Best of all, it plugs right into a standard 100 VT outlet. No expensive charging stations, no headaches. Just plug it in overnight and roll out in the morning fully charged in 5 hours. It's not just cheap in price, it's cheap to operate, cheap to maintain, and ridiculously efficient. Kilogram Motors stripped away everything unnecessary and left only what matters. And the result, a vehicle that does exactly what people need, no more, no less. As soon as Kilogram Motors announced the Maybot, the reaction was instant and overwhelming. Within weeks, over 3,300 pre-orders flooded in. And remember, this was before a single car had even been built. People didn't just like Maybot, they needed it. In Japan, social media blew up with praise. Urban commuters, college students, and retirees all saw the same thing. Finally, an electric car that fits their lifestyle and their budget. Videos showing the Maybot gliding through narrow streets went viral. The buzz wasn't just from EV enthusiasts. It was from everyone. Memes, reviews, and reaction videos became a phenomenon. And it wasn't just public hype. Analysts started to notice that Maybot was about to do something unthinkable. Outsell Toyota in the compact EV category. In fact, Kilogram Motors pre-order numbers alone already rival Toyota's total EV sales in Japan for 2024. Let that sink in. A no-name micro car built in small batches, overtaking the country's biggest car maker in its home turf. Toyota wasn't the only one on edge. BYD, NIO, and even Tesla quietly began tracking Maybot's progress. Why? Because it proved that there's a massive untapped demand for affordable compact EVs. Maybot didn't steal Tesla's luxury crowd. It created a brand new market that no one else dared to serve. Kilogram Motors didn't just build a car. They built a movement. And the message is clear. If you solve real problems with real innovation, people will follow. Even if your name isn't Elon. How did Kilogram Motors manage to price an electric vehicle at just $7,000? Most companies can't build a battery pack for that price, let alone the entire car. But here's the secret. They designed for what people need, not what looks cool on a spec sheet. First, Maybot uses an LFP battery, a cheaper and safer alternative to the lithium-ion cells used in Teslas. No need for 300-mile range or supercharging when your customer just needs to get across town. This single decision slashed battery costs by over 40%. Second, they partnered with local suppliers, 3D printed parts, and used modular components found in scooters and bikes. The chassis lightweight and simple. The tech minimalist. There's no touchscreen, no lane assist, no unnecessary sensors, just essential tools, speed, charge level, lights, and safety. Third, Kilogram Motors avoided dealerships altogether. Customers pre-order online and pick up directly from designated service centers, cutting out the middlemen. Maintenance. Maybot's parts are so standardized, most repairs can be done at local garages without special tools or training. And finally, the car is classified as a light vehicle. K-car in Japan, which means lower registration costs, insurance, and tax breaks. In a world obsessed with premium, Kilogram went practical. They redefined what a car should be. Not luxurious, not fast, just accessible. And that's why competitors are terrified, because you can't compete on margin when someone rewrites the rules. The Maybot may look cute, but it's giving legacy automakers cold sweats. Why? Because it's proof that EV disruption doesn't need to come from Silicon Valley or billion-dollar factories. It can come from a garage in Japan. Let's talk numbers. While Tesla sells cars averaging $45,000 or more, Kilogram Motors is offering a fully functional EV for under $10,000. That gap isn't just wide, it's unbridgeable for companies built on high-margin models. Tesla, BYD, and others have built their empires on performance, features, and battery dominance. But Maybot sidesteps all that. It doesn't compete on horsepower or range. It competes on need in dense Asian cities, rural Japan, and soon in parts of India, Bangladesh, and Africa. This is exactly the car people want. Small, reliable, cheap. Elon Musk has talked about building a $25,000 car for years. Kilogram just built a $7,000 one and it works. That's not just embarrassing, that's revolutionary. And legacy automakers, they're not built for this kind of pivot. Toyota, Honda, even Suzuki all dominate with traditional manufacturing pipelines and dealership networks. To match Maybot's cost efficiency, they'd need to reinvent everything from the supply chain to how they sell cars. So now everyone's watching Kilogram Motors, not because they're big, but because they're doing something the big guys can't, changing the game without playing it. Right now, Maybot is a Japanese sensation. But what happens when it leaves the island? Kilogram Motors is already in talks to expand distribution into other Asian markets like India, Indonesia, and Vietnam. Places where two-wheelers dominate and where the demand for ultra-affordable EVs is skyrocketing. Cities choking on pollution and traffic congestion are desperate for small, clean transport solutions. And then there's Africa, where infrastructure is still developing, and where cheap, durable transport can change lives. A $7,000 EV that charges from a wall socket. That's not just practical, it's empowering. Europe and North America might scoff at Maybot's size, but even there, the tide is turning. With rising urbanization, cities like Amsterdam, Barcelona, and even parts of Los Angeles are moving toward micromobility zones. Parking is scarce, gas is expensive, public transit is overwhelmed. Maybot could be the missing piece. But here's the catch. Regulations. Maybot is legal in Japan under the KC car standards, but it would need modifications to meet US and EU crash safety laws. That's where partnerships or licensing deals come in. Don't be surprised if Maybot Tech ends up rebadged by a global player in 2026. Still, the Maybot is more than a product. It's a blueprint for how the world can rethink transportation. Not everyone needs a $50,000 SUV. Some just need 4 wheels and a plug. And if Kilogram Motors plays its cards right, Maybot might just be the car that brings electric freedom to the rest of the planet. Maybot is winning headlines, hearts, and pre-orders. But don't assume it's all smooth sailing from here. Disruption doesn't guarantee success. In fact, it usually guarantees a fight. First up, scaling. Kilogram Motors is still a small company. Fulfilling 3,000 plus orders is one thing. Mass-producing 30,000 plus units, that requires serious infrastructure, logistics, and cash flow. If they can't meet demand, hype could turn to backlash quickly. Then there's regulation. Even in Japan, road laws and insurance policies are evolving around EVs. If new restrictions are placed on ultralight electric vehicles, Maybot might get boxed out of the very niche it created. Quality control is another risk. Early adopters will forgive quirks, but only to a point. If manufacturing errors start piling up, reputation damage could spread faster than Maybot's fan base ever did. Also, big players are watching and copying. What's to stop BYD or Honda from launching a similar micro EV, but with better range or a brand people already trust? And lastly, consumer perception. In many cultures, cars are still seen as status symbols. A $7,000 vehicle could be dismissed as cheap rather than revolutionary, especially outside Asia. But Maybot doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be a real working proof that cheap EVs are possible. If Kilogram Motors can hold the line, fix the flaws, and keep its identity intact, it might just beat the odds. In a world chasing billion-dollar dreams and luxury EVs, Maybot brought the auto industry crashing back to reality. Not everyone needs a spaceship on wheels. Some of us just need to get to work cheaply, cleanly, and safely. Kilogram Motors didn't disrupt the market with ads or flashy unveilings. They disrupted it by solving a problem no one else dared to face. How do you build an EV that the average person can afford right now? Maybot isn't about status. It's about access. It's about giving mobility back to people who've been priced out of the game for too long. And it's doing it with humility, innovation, and determination. Sure, the big players will respond. Some will copy. Some will fight, but it's too late. The spark is lit. A $7,000 EV exists. And once people know that, there's no going back. This isn't just the story of a car. It's the story of a shift, a quiet revolution rolling on tiny wheels, changing the way we think about transport, value, and innovation. So whether you're a tech nerd, a commuter, or just someone who loves an underdog story, keep your eye on Maybot. It's not just a car, it's a warning to the giants. You've had your turn. Now it's ours.